very unique in their own genre. uh, Chef Lucía Merino from Lucía Patisserie, Chef María Mercedes Grubb, and Chef Pedro Álvarez. They're colleagues, good friends, and very, very talented individuals. We are going to have 3 different topics on this, and we are going, each one of us, to elaborate. So first of all, we're gonna do introductions. I'm gonna go first. My name is Mario Pagán. I started this culinary journey 25 years ago. Had a couple of restaurants. Right now, I manage 5 restaurants in Dorado Beach. I own 4 restaurants in Condado and manage 1 more restaurant at Distrito T-Mobile. It's been tough, but I'm still here. Started my career in Miami. Going through architectural school, I realized that that wasn't working, so I went into culinary school, Johnson & Wales. Got a job offer from my mentor, Alfredo Ayala, back in a restaurant called Chayote in Miramar. Started there, bought it off of him, and the rest is history. We just expanded to Winter Park, Florida, my first venue there. It's, I think, the largest investment that I made in my life. So I'm really happy about it. We've got great response, and just happy to be here. Lucia. I think, yeah.
Hello. Hi, my name is Lucía Merino. I have a bakery in Miramar in San Juan. We just reopened because we moved from locations, and yeah, I'm happy to be here. I've worked in a couple places in Spain and the United States, and now I'm back here trying to just do something, bring something different to the culinary world in the island. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
And they're very good.
Best in the game.
You see the lines.
Hi guys, my name is María Mercedes Grubb. I was born and raised here in Santurce. After high school, I moved to New York City. I'm a 3rd generation cook of Dominican immigrant parents. Upon moving to New York, I went to the French Culinary Institute, where I decided to take this cooking thing a little bit more professional. I worked in Michelin star restaurants in New York, opened a few Danny Meyer restaurants as well. And I have a severely autistic son, so my husband and I decided to move back to Puerto Rico to be closer with family. And upon that, I started a supper club from my house called the Underground Dining Club, where we would just do local food with a lot of international twists. And upon that, I opened Gallo Negro with my brother. It did very, very well for 8 years until pandemic. We can talk more about that later. And Hurricane Maria, et cetera, et cetera. And now I'm just in the consulting world, trying to carve a little bit more space for my family and just to put out all these million recipes that I have growing in my brain every day. And just trying to see how we can bring more awareness in an international level to all the beautiful things that we're doing in Puerto Rico. So that's also an MO at the moment. Pedro.
Good morning. My name is Pedro Álvarez. I'm coming from Bayamón, Puerto Rico, in a humble area called Santa Juanita. My father is a carpenter, and my mother is a housewife. We are 4 brothers, and from there I come from. I started to work since age of 16 in the bakery of the neighborhood, and then from there start the passion in the culinary world to learn more about it, and the idea to have my own business at the end. I have the opportunity to work in different important places in Puerto Rico, like the Embassy Suites on the 96, Ritz-Carlton Hotel when opened in the 97. Then from there I start to new big chefs from around the world that saw me working hard and brought me outside of Puerto Rico, went to the Grenadines. From there, I knew the Italians. I went to Italy for 5 to 6 years. And then over there, it was like my university. I came back to Puerto Rico with the idea to open a restaurant. That didn't happen because I came back without any cent, no money, and I didn't want to. A lot of things I miss in the financial world, but the knowledge was there. Working in La Placita with a good friend, Jose Enrique. From there, came back to learn my Puerto Rican roots, and I found the necessity at that point in the manufacture of sausage, good sausage quality for the restaurant and for high-level chefs in the island. And from there, I noticed that I learned that in Italy, that technique and how it works. So this is the niche that I went for. Instead to open a restaurant, I went to my family. I told the idea, and since 2010, we start to work a manufacturing processing plant of high-quality sausage, looking from the point of view that gives service to the culinary industry. And I think that there is a lot of space and opportunities to work over there.
So if you've been to any of my restaurants, I have longanizas on the menu, and I usually put la longaniza de Pedro. That's Pedro. So just you're wondering who Pedro is. That's the famous Pedro.
Thank you, Mario.
You deserve it, man. I don't do longaniza. You're here for that. I mean, that's your purpose, and it's wonderful. It's amazing. We're going to go into the food history and evolution in Puerto Rico in the past decades. I think I'm the oldest one, so I'm going to start on that one. I believe that I started here in the 90s. It was 1996. When I started working in Chayote, things have changed a lot, especially in the recession. I filed for bankruptcy 2010 because 2008 was just horrible for the fine dining business. Everything that was casual and cheap survived. That's why you saw a couple of restaurants that were like tablecloths and all that changed their whole, approach into their service, right? Just regular tables, not a lot of fuss because people weren't getting dressed to go out. Things were really tough back then. But I adapted. I survived. I actually, after that, I had a restaurant right here where we are, called Laurel at the museum. It were very wonderful years. And of course, after going through something so dramatic for me, I learned a lot. So thank God we are really solid now. And that's pretty much what I've seen. Everything is just going up. If we're, in the quagmire that we have right now is how do we not affect the public, with everything that has gone up through the decades? Because now the pound of salmon was $4 when I came in to work in the 90s. Now it's just unbearable. So the consumer is, we have a better informed consumer is what I've found right now, that if they're learning about food a little bit more thanks to social media, and to the internet. I mean, people are getting, and they got really polished through the pandemic, cooking at home. Everybody is doing breads now, and you know, I don't, I leave that to you because it's very time consuming for me. But a lot of people, you know, started like doing a lot of culinary stuff during the pandemic, and that has brought a lot of knowledge into our businesses. So I'm really happy about that. Food trucks survived, and food trucks parks, I think they're flourishing now a little bit more. I'm on the board of Lote 23, and we have a great program over there with HUD. And I believe that, but I still believe that Puerto Rico needs food halls. Puerto Rico needs not la placita del mercado. It's just, for me, it's somewhere that I go to drink. I don't see like placita like the plazas in Europe or even the United States, right? The farmers markets. So we need to get the good tourism here, culinary tourism. We need to. I think the government should, you know, emphasize on this and work a little bit more with us and try to make these places a little bit more with more appeal for that tourist, that culinary tourist that we want to have on the island, because we have culinary tourism. For me, it's I mean, it's usually the beach, and then we get the tourist, right? It's a very small group that looks for that. We need to get some food shows, like food and wines and all that. We need them. They kind of disappeared on our radar. We used to have one, but I'm actually working on that with someone here in Puerto Rico, and hopefully we'll announce that by the end of the year or the beginning of next year. If you want to chime on that.
Yeah, I think it's very important to start bringing more awareness of the food costs and why we sort of need to start charging more for things. You know, like somebody said when they were introducing us, more than 85% of the ingredients we get are from outside of Puerto Rico, and so it's hard to control what the price is gonna be on all that stuff. And we don't really have a lot of other places that we can get stuff from, so that's going up, and the minimum wage and the living cost is going up, the minimum wage is going up, and so you also want to take care of your employees and pay them a fair wage so they're in a comfortable living situation. And there are all these other costs going up too, like electricity and the water and the non-dependable electricity, right? Because it's not dependable, and everything just adds up. And at the end of the day, the only way we find, or at least I find, to be able to compensate for all that is just raising the prices on our products. But then not everyone can afford it, so then you're only there to serve just a percentage of the population. So it's getting a little complicated and a little scary, I would say, because we don't know what's going to happen, and everything just keeps going up, and there's only so much you can charge. You know, you can't charge $10 for a croissant. Nobody's going to pay for that. So, yeah, so I think that's one of the struggles.
For yours, I'll pay you.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest struggles that we're going through right now, and that we're trying to bring awareness, and hopefully there will be some change.
Concur. Basically, in my opinion, I feel like talking about Puerto Rico's past, we were talking about this, about Santurce and how everything has evolved over the past 60 years, how this used to be a mecca and all of a sudden it isn't. I think there needs to be a little bit of more talk about the places that we already have, like La Plaza del Mercado de Rio Piedras, and that connection with your placero and your vendor, and you go there to support them and the stuff that they're bringing from Santa Isabel, that beautiful mango that smells so good. And as chefs, it's our responsibility to make sure to put this information forward. And it might be a little bit more money, but this is our financial stability and the future of food security, which is 85% not ours. And that's a very, very scary thought. So I think there needs to be a little bit more of education towards the public to understand why things might be a little bit more and the importance of supporting each other in a local business and not rely as much. I also feel like whoever controls making everybody know outside of Puerto Rico what's happening here, the beautiful croissants and everything that's happening food-wise, how people are growing eggplant or fennel or things that didn't really exist here because chefs are into it and we're demanding it and we're asking for it. And there's a lot of people that are coming up with this stuff and or buying Pedro sausage, which is always on my menus. And I think it's more of that communication, more of that awareness, more of those public service announcements. And going back to a conversation that was had here yesterday, we can decide these things, but we do need the government to facilitate that these things become true. And I think that should be the focus, like maybe not creating, but just revamping what we do have already, because our means are limited, so more energy should go towards that.
Pedro?
Well, we are just arrived here like an hour and a half ago, and we have a coffee outside, and we start a great conversation over there that it went out of the program on the question that we have on the paper. And one of the topics that we were talking about is going in the evolution of the industry. I remember at my beginnings is the period that you live, the glory period of the great restaurants and the great chef in the island were Alfredo Ayala, were Willow, Giovanna, and this at that age, at very young age, those were the names that I look up and I say, wow, those are the great, the Mario Ferro on the Caribe Hilton, and over there was the Puerto Rican food. It was the food from France and Italy, all international dishes to give to the tourists and everything. But from Alfredo Ayala and your times is where the Puerto Rican food arrived to that level to serve Puerto Rican food on fine dining. And that was a great step for the culinary to happen. A great step of the Puerto Rican food that achieved. The other day, a friend of mine from Italy came here. He's a chef from Verona, 1-star Michelin, Mauro Buffo. He came here and he asked me a question, Pedro, what is where I can go to a typical Puerto Rican restaurant? And I stay quiet and I start to think. I call my friend Chef Piñeiro, and he's the same answer, silence. You know, the real Puerto Rican food, because there is a lot of Puerto Rican chefs here cooking, doing great things, creative, and they are ready on the way, like to hold on new levels. But the typical food, and the conclusion was that right now the typical food is not in our hands, in the Puerto Ricans. It's in the Dominicans that arrive here to work very hard and make their way up, working to achieve their success. And with the time, and this has happened in front of our eyes, you know, for years, and is nothing against the Dominicans. It's how we live the typical food out of our hands. It's normal that somebody else gonna come and gonna do it, you know, and this is what happened, you know, and there should be a reason for that, you know, and I think it's all the problems that you mentioned right now, the troubles that we find to bring our business ahead, you know. And I start to think in solutions, you know, because there is a lot of work. There is somebody that is willing to break his, I'm sorry for the word, break his ass off to work and make it happen, you know. And somebody will do it, even for less money than what we would do it. So we need to make a reflection of what we need, you know, to keep going on that. So from the manufacturing perspective, I think we need more solutions in the machineries, put technology in our kitchens to make that work, that because it's very hard to work in a kitchen to make it happen, you know, it will help us to to make the work easier, you know. So Willow Bennett is a great example of that he is a freak. His kitchen is full of little machines, you know, and the result that is coming out from his kitchen is still amazing. And Willow Bennett as well is being a chef that is born in the glory days of the culinary in Puerto Rico, and he's still at avant-garde. So this is how I see the evolution in the kitchen in Puerto Rico, and yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect example, Willow. He veered practically everything that he's done throughout his career, and now he's just pumping out food like crazy, in crazy numbers. So, you know, manufacturing is practically what it is. And the Dominican effect, I was talking to the group earlier that I remember when I went into Chayote for the first time, when I got hired, everybody was Dominican in the kitchen. Everybody. I haven't had a Dominican cook in I don't know how many years, decades probably. So I think that my vision on this and my, you know, understanding is that they worked, they wanted to go on and, you know, to do something more profitable than being a cook. And now they see the need that there's a lot of Puerto Rican like authentic places, and they're going back and exploiting that. And I think that's great, but it's how you said, we're losing, you know, our place in that culture, like you said. So it's a very interesting topic to, anybody else wants to chime on that or?
I would say that I think for some reason, this is my personal opinion, in Puerto Rico, a lot of the people think that what we're doing here or what our culture is, or maybe in this case, our food is not good enough. So we're always trying to do something different. So even the same Puerto Ricans won't go, not all of them, maybe I'm generalizing, but they won't go and support that type of food. Like they'll go, oh, let's go to the new Italian restaurant, the new Chinese restaurant, they don't. So everyone felt that the way to be able to be successful is just being more innovative with the food they're making. And so leaving behind kind of like the culture, the roots, and cooking other things. Like, let me be better at this because this is what the people are looking for. But until what point will we realize that the Puerto Rican food is good enough to be served in 5-star restaurants and Michelin star restaurants?
That's the thing, that I can't charge what I charge for food if I serve arroz con pollo, like, you know, just that's like, you know, how do you say, damn if I do, damn if I don't.
Yeah.
So it's a very because I remember that I did a dish, that like a very, you know, Puerto Rican, you know, authentic dish, and I got yelled at, you know, from the customers, like, why are you come on, I can do this at home. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not doing fonda anymore, you know? That was right after the hurricane that I did like a little fonda in Mario Pagán. And but I kept the prices because the only way that I can pay my employees, I mean, it was I kept the same prices, so they told me that rice and beans cannot be at $25.
But the truth is, not almost nobody's cooking Puerto Rican food at home anymore.
No.
Like, rarely.
No.
Especially now, eating outside all the time with all these apps that you don't have to. So
Yeah, which brings us to our next subject, that are the challenges past and present. You started, Maria, about talking about food cost and labor, and I think that's the key situation that we have right now in the industry. We were talking about, we don't want to raise prices for our customers, but at the end of the day, if this keeps going the way it's going, and there's not a stop to it in terms of the prices going up in food costs, I don't see another way. I don't want to affect my clients, but I do not see another. One thing that keeps me sleeping at night is that all this, the price increasing on our materials is going to keep the fine dining. I'm not fine dining anymore, but it's going to keep the fine dining alive, because those customers will still go out and spend money. The mid customers, the mid tier and the lower tier, are the ones that are going to get affected, because the prices in Cheesecake Factory or Burger King or whatever, they're going to keep going up. There's no way on holding on that. Permitting. They wanted me to talk about permitting. It's a very touchy subject and sometimes political subject, but here it goes. Permitting is hard. It's but at the end of the day, I think that once you do it the first time, unless it's something out of the ordinary, once you do permitting the first time, you understand the way that it's done in Puerto Rico, and it's usually the same after that. What I don't understand is, and this is my own, it's like it should be like a merit kind of a deal, right? A system. If you have a restaurant and you pay your taxes and you've done a great job, why do you have to go through so many loops on your second restaurant? It should be an automatic thing. This guy is good to go. He's a professional, and that's it. But we were talking outside about permitting, obviously, and I have to tell you that what I've been through the past year in Florida with permitting Puerto Rico is the easiest place to get permits, because we don't do certifications here. And those certifications I just saw a restaurant that was almost going to close before it opened because they run out of money. Making changes because of the state or the county will will point them on that. You got electric certifications, plumbing certifications, the ANSO, that is the extraction and the hood certificate. There's a bunch of certifications. And if you don't change what they tell you, even though it's going to cost you more than whatever you spend doing it, you're not going to open the restaurant or the business. And I found that like really scary. Here, I still think that we need a more effective system on permitting, a much faster. But with that I just went through, it was shocking, and I remember that my wife told me, now you love Puerto Rico, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, because it was just wow, it was incredible. I actually cried one night because I thought, I mean, you know, we were burning cash with the payroll. We had our management already on board, but without the restaurant open. So, you know, with 60 employees. So it was hard that week before we opened, because I thought that we were never going to. Financial accessibility is a subject that I really wanted to touch, because I think that the last time I got a loan from a bank here for a restaurant was in 1998. Banks are not friends of giving out loans to restaurants. They see us, as the accountants always say, that the most riskiest business is the restaurant business. But I mean, there's as I was talking about doing permitting with merits, I think the banks, you know, I remember. I'm not gonna say my bank, what my bank is, but I remember that I've been for my bank forever, and I'm like, okay, so I'm depositing millions of dollars in your bank, and you tell me that you can't give me a $200,000 loan? Oh no, if you give me $200,000 as collateral, I can give you the loan. I'm like, are you? Okay, I don't understand that one, but it's okay. That's how it works. So yeah, we need to work on that, if you know, to progress, to see progress in the culinary scene over here, because it's really tough for young people to open up restaurants. It's really tough. Nobody backs you up. Nobody. You got to do it out of your own pocket. Infrastructure.
I want to talk a little bit about permitting, actually, if that's okay.
Okay, cool.
Well, I feel like there's a situation in Puerto Rico when you want to open a restaurant, you can find a location, the most perfect location, and you cannot start doing work until you get this permit. So what happens? You're waiting for like a year. You're paying for rent, and you're paying for rent. And unless you come with deep pockets, or maybe a bit of a trust fund or something like that, not everybody has the money to do that. And like you just said, the banks are not very willing to give you money. And as a woman, I can say that that's also a problem. I know that there's a lot of angel funding, and I think that would be something good for businesses, because it benefits everybody to have a better society and a better area that's populated, that everybody wants to go and rekindle this outside of the mall thing that we used to have in Puerto Rico. And that's something that needs to be addressed. And I think it all comes down to that permitting situation, where there has to be a better system, where a person that perhaps doesn't have big pockets, I mean, you guys are on finance, and I understand that in order to open a business, you should have enough money to run it for 2 years. Most people open businesses on zero. Or negative, and owing everybody money, and you're not even open, and you don't have clout. You can't promote the place because your place has been under construction for 1 or 2 years. And this is something that really, really needs to be addressed, and coming back to permitting, that I think will help restaurants in a huge way. And also banks or angel investors or anything like that, being more real about what it really takes to open a restaurant. It's not just $50,000, it's way more than that. And that's just something that needs to be put out there. And unfortunately, I don't know why, maybe this is a Caribbean thing, people don't talk about numbers, they don't talk about the reality, they don't talk about costs, they don't talk to each other and say, hey, do you have $100,000 to do this? Because otherwise, it's not gonna happen for you. And I think that education needs to go back to school, again, back to public service announcements, and us uniting and spreading that word, because it looks pretty, but it's not.
Permitting.
Do I start? Yeah, like Maria said, it's not feasible for a business that's starting from zero to be waiting for up to 2 years for a permit. It just doesn't make sense. And so yeah, we have to be able to facilitate that, find ways to technology, whatever it is that needs to be done, clearer and more honest ways to make it happen, so that the little money that you have to build your business doesn't go on paying rent in an empty, unconstructed place. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna go too deep in that, but yeah, I think we can all agree that right now and for a while, it's a big mess to be able to obtain your permit here. And the many restaurants or any other businesses also, that they end up not even opening because they can't keep holding on to waiting for the permit to happen.
Well, the only I can talk about my experience. We have a big idea, but we put it in a very small place. In our case, it's a commercial area, and I can say that I use the word manufacturer, factory, distribution, but the way we put that idea as an artisan. I presented in an artisan way to the municipality to achieve and to start the idea at least to start to work, and in that way happens, you know. So right now all this word manufacturing a factory in our space are very big, but our space is very, very small. So what we are doing right now, we have to start to think to move from this property to put this idea in a bigger place that is running already, you know, it's running in a good way. We have a very good brand that going all around the island. I cannot go to the States because there is a ban of pork from Puerto Rico to the States. That this is another thing that I cannot export. But in the permits, this is the way we do. We put the idea in a very small place and find the easiest ways to go around. Then we think how, without moving from this place, how I can maximize. So we start to work with engineers, lean. There is a lean diagnostic, that this is something that is a philosophy from Toyota in Japan, that is a continuous improvement. So in a line of production, you're always counting how many steps you walk from here to here, and then you start to cut and keep cutting, and maximizing these small places. And this is the way we grow. We grow from the inside, not in space, but to the inside. And they're going to arrive at one point that we're going to have to move to another place, but at least we start. And this is how we manage this thing, you know.
Thank you. Really interesting. I think we're gonna. These are closing statements. I going on forward, what we like to see in Puerto Rico. I think Maria touched on the education. I think that's key. But I pretty much did with my businesses what my mentor couldn't do with me, and things that I've learned through the years, as I had like the benefit and thank God that I've expanded my operations into multiple restaurants. It's not easy, but I have a great team behind me. I'm nothing without my team. Probably 5 years ago, I included as partners, and we're not talking about like a 10%. I'm talking about 50-50. My right hand in the kitchen and my right hand in the floor. They're a couple. They're a young couple. They've been with me for like 20 years. And you know what? You have to empower people. That's the only way that I see this industry going forward. Restaurants like ours going forward. If they're not like a family-owned restaurant, you need to empower people, because you need to make them feel that it's theirs also. And because all this labor going up and cost going up is the only way that we can attack that, at least in my opinion and my businesses. That's the business model that I've created now, and it's working for me. Thank God I have the people that I have, and it's a blessing, you know. But I believe that in terms of empowering people, I don't care if I'm not talking about shares or anything like that. In another way, I think it's really key because there's a lot of people that don't want to work this industry anymore. And that's the problem. After the pandemic, it's just like, you know, cooks. I know that I have some cooks that I know that they're not even working in restaurants. They have another gig going on. And it's scary for us because I think that I have a couple more years to go on this business. And that's the only thing that worries me. But we gotta keep Puerto Rico alive. Our culture is through our food. You know, I get calls all the time from my friends. Oh, I'm going to Spain or I'm going to Prague and I'm going to, where do I go to eat? That's what you ask. You don't ask even about the museums. You ask, where do I go to eat, right? Because you want to make the reservations. Those are the only places that you need to, you know, do your moves ahead of time. And I think that along with the government, we have a very rich culture when it comes to our gastronomy, and we should exploit it. We should exploit it, and that's that's my dime right there.
I want to jump on that. So, a lot of countries, even our neighbor Dominicans that are taking over the restaurants, they put the effort. They send people to all these competitions around the world. They see the talent, they hone it, they develop it, and they're willing to put the name. A few years ago, I did a dinner at the James Beard House, and it was pulling teeth to get our team to cook there. It was very difficult. There was no support from the DMO. There was nobody in the government that was like, hey, girls, good job. Here's some money. Now go put our name out there. And I think there needs to be more emphasis into just showcasing the talent that we have here and the beautiful products that we have here. Like, we can't even send Pedro's longaniza to the United States. Like, why? Why can't we figure that out? It's a beautiful artisanal product. And I think there needs to be more of that communication. Like you said, people should be able to pinpoint that, okay, I can go to this restaurant in Puerto Rico, and it shouldn't be a think piece. It should be an easy answer. And for that, we need more support, whereas it's private or whoever runs it. But there needs to be more emphasis into the people that are here doing the job, going days without power to keep their restaurant open, paying extra money or making their staff partners. All the good things that are happening is not being told out there. These are stories that stay here in this 100 by 35, and I think we need to do a better job at that.
Yeah, I remember, and not even, and I've worked, and it's true what you're saying about the Beard House. I did that dinner, and I had to get money from one of our purveyors to get my staff over there because the government wasn't gonna go on that deal. So yeah, we in order for us to expose Puerto Rico to the world, we need support. That's it, and we will bring the people in. Lucía.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna jump on with what Maria said about finding ways to support what we're doing, because I know this is not the hardest place in the world to live, but it is very challenging. And the more support and backing that we can find, hopefully the more Puerto Ricans who stay in Puerto Rico. And yeah, we have to find ways to better our employees' lives and our lives, and to keep our culture and the life here in Puerto Rico going, and being able to do what we love to do without having to ride a roller coaster every day.
Pedro.
Bueno, ¿dónde estamos? En el futuro. 22 segundos. Well, I think with all the difficulties that we have right now, I see a bright future anyway, because this is where opportunities grows in the necessity, and in the difficulties is where people get creative And at the end, the resources, we have the resources. And yeah, I see that very good things with the effort can happen, you know. So
Well, thank you all for being here and hearing us out.
Yeah, we're good. Any questions in the crowd?
Just one quick question here and a comment. I think Lucia mentioned we're typically very hard on ourselves in Puerto Rico, and I just have to say we need to change that thought process. Everything that I've eaten, tasted in Puerto Rico in the 45 years that I've been alive has been fantastic, and I think it's getting better. I think the service, I think the quality of the food, the ingredients that are being elaborated and manufacturing, the farms that are providing the materials, the raw materials for you guys to cook is getting better. So I think I'm an optimist, obviously, as you can tell. I think we need to change the narrative a little bit. But having said that, I'm a foodie and I've been able, thankfully, to travel the world and eat at the best restaurants, and the restaurants here are of equal quality or better than some of the 3-star, 2-star, 1-star Michelin restaurants that I've tried. Having said that, why, as a tool for bringing tourism, as a tool for kind of guiding people to the restaurants that are really good in Puerto Rico, what are the challenges to bring in the Michelin Guide locally? It is the standard, unless I'm mistaken. We brought in James Beard Foundation. We brought in Eric Ripert. We brought in Anthony Bourdain before he died. I mean, we've been able to connect certain dots. Why not the Michelin Guide?
Well, I have to, I can't confirm or deny like the FBI, but there's something in the works for that. So I cannot say anything, but you know, it is what it is. It can go 50-50. You know, it can go either way.
That would be the launching pad.
Well,
One more launching.
well, the thing is that the Michelin Guide can come to, just in case everybody, just if you're wondering, that's paid for. Countries paid that. The Pellegrino, the Michelin Guide, it's probably $1 million. We're running for $1 million, probably like $800,000 if you want them to rate you. What Michelin doesn't do is guarantee that they're going to rate anyone. So there's some countries that don't want to pay that. So if Puerto Rico is willing to pay that, that would be great, but they don't guarantee. So that's why they're very skeptical about, like, you know, paying that much money. But it will be great to have them here, because now they have a Gourmand Bib awards that are very inclusive, and hands down, thank you so much. Puerto Rico rocks, you know, when it comes to food, and you know, that's why I really sometimes this is my internal joke. There's usually this customer that tells me, "Oh, but you have the lobster so expensive." And I'm like, "Come on, you went to Le Bernardin and pay like $80. This is only like 50. Come on." So it's a matter of perception. But if the guys were here, we will have a lot of interest in terms of culinary tourism.
We
Great
need a
point.
lot to do to get them here. I don't know if everybody's aware. The Michelin Guide started as you have a broke tire. This is where you go fix your tire. And while you're fixing your tire, you can go to this amazing restaurant and this great hotel. We need to talk about our infrastructure. I mean, we have a lot of problems with electricity. These are things that cost me to close one of my restaurants. You go 4 months without power, how can you survive? We have roads that have, you know, you guys know how bad it is. And these are infrastructure problems, and going back to not getting that support for either it's a private or the local tourism board, that's gonna limit the Michelin Guide coming here. Because how are they supposed to know we exist if we're not being even able to travel and expose our food in different countries? And I think that first we need to create the awareness, and then hopefully we can get them here.
And to that point, I'm in talks right now into getting a space for a future next year for a future restaurant. I don't know why I'm gonna do that, but the first thing that when I went to see the place, I'm like, so where's the power generator? Because I don't care about how the place is right now. If it's like destroyed inside or whatever, I don't care. Where is the power generator, or where's the space that I can put a power generator in? Because I mean, right now it's just like our bread and butter.
Not everybody has the money for that. That's an $80,000 investment, and we just talked about you start broke, and unfortunately, not a lot of restaurants have the means to do that.
Or
And in
not-
Old San Juan.
Or
also.
not a lot of restaurants have the space or the
Can't put the
location,
generator.
yeah.
If you're in certain buildings, they don't allow the generator. So this is, we have a lot of steps to take before we start thinking Michelin, in my opinion.
But I think
Hopefully, yeah, that'll be awesome.
Hello. Before I moved to Puerto Rico, I lived for almost 30 years in 90401 zip code, and I recommend it to your attention. What's in 90401 are at least 20 places where you can buy fresh salads and fresh vegetables that are grown on farms that are within a couple hours drive. And I walk across the city. I walk from here in Santurce, from Planet Fitness to my place in Old San Juan, and I don't see anything like that place. So if somebody is going to start a restaurant, if you're going to start it, I really wish I could have a cava or a tender greens or something equivalent where I can go and buy, have a salad with 30 or 40 ingredients, microgreens, very nutritious, all grown locally. There are 1,700 farms in Puerto Rico that can grow a tremendous variety of foods. And I just can't find fresh food. And my question is, you mentioned at this panel something I've heard many times from our Master of Ceremonies, Drew Cutcomb, which is that 85 to 90% of the produce in Puerto Rico is imported. And after 3 to 5 days, it loses more than half of its nutrients. Why don't we eat more locally grown fresh produce? Why is that? And what can we do to increase that besides what I just mentioned?
Customers don't want to pay for it. That's just...
I want to pay for it, so you're wrong.
Okay, we're talking about a minimum percentage. We're not talking about the entire island. That's a 10%. Most people don't want to pay for it. They'd rather go to Ponderosa and pay $9 for a salad that comes from United States. That's just a reality. Not everybody has the pocket for that. And that's going back to education. People need to understand that these things cost. These farmers, they have to pay extra for water. They had to pay extra for electricity. Sometimes they don't have the staff to grow the vegetables. I run restaurants that we always focus on. It's very important to me, buying local. And coming up, working on a concept for salads that hopefully will go throughout San Juan. But it's not an easy task because people really, really get sticker shock about paying for fresh vegetables. And it's just the sad reality.
I'm gonna jump in there and say that I don't know if it's, I think it's probably this a global thing maybe, but when you live in a place, you feel like you don't have to pay a certain amount for stuff. But then when you go on vacation, like if you go to New York, you go to Paris, you go to anywhere else, you don't mind paying way more than it's supposed to cost. So I think that's also, again, goes back to education of understanding why things cost the way they cost. And if you want to eat healthy and local without any pesticides, non-GMOs, like all these things, well, there's a cost to it. And a lot of that is lack of education because we're so used to opening a can of beans and buying a bag of rice for whatever it is. I'm sure it's more than $1 now, but so yeah, so trying to change that way of eating and educating people on how the work that goes into growing that food.
Yeah, and it's like, restaurants are really demanding with their customers. The customers are really demanding for the restaurants that they like. And I can't tell my customers that I don't have the salad that they like or the sweet potato that they like because I can only buy Puerto Rican. We can't, because just with a little rain, those farmers will call you up. Hey, listen, I don't have anything for this week because it's raining a lot. So what are you doing? You need to rely on the purveyors with products from the outside. It's the only way I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because you got to have redundancy and you got to have security on for your menu. But it's really difficult. And one thing that I've noticed since the 90s is that I have a lot of farmers that come to my place, and we promote them and we buy a lot of stuff from them. But I've noticed that they all grow the same stuff. Not say the same shit, but the same stuff. Yeah, no, well, it's the same thing. And then there's no program through the government to tell these farmers, listen, we're going to give you incentives if you grow eggplant, and we're going to give you incentives if you grow, oranges or what have you, and have like a well-distributed, a system of farming so everybody can benefit, you with your salad, sir, and have it every day. But if everybody's growing pretty much the same stuff, I mean, that's why when you go, and I'm going to go ahead and say this because this is, when you go to a placita, don't think that what you see there is from Puerto Rico. No way. You can have that idea in your head, but there's no way. Especially, let's say the yuca that comes from Costa Rica. It's impossible. There's not a lot of farmers that are doing that hard. I mean, that's going deep into the ground, and nobody wants to do it. So we were talking about importing hands for that earlier today, and I think that at the end of the day, that's what it has to come down to.
Yeah. The development of this island is, and I, in my perspective, everything that we see right now, it came from the States. These industries were already big. The meat industry is already big over there. Beef industry, vegetable industry, all the industry that we need in here that we don't have the proper infrastructure of processing plants or machineries and all the eslabones, all the links in that chain of production. We never developed here to supply the consuming the island. So since the beginning, it was all importations. So because all the infrastructure is there and their capacity to produce in mass and bring in here with cheap, very low prices, that duplicate the effort from us to grow and supply that salad that you want, and I think this is the struggling that we are having. And Maria is not wrong. I think that because when she said that people don't want to pay, is because people don't have the money to pay the amount of people to sustain that. There is not enough in Puerto Rico that people that will pay the real price of that salad. So we need more people like you and thank you for supporting and asking for that with that needs.
Yeah. So I have some really good friends that have a finca in Dorado, Finca Pastoreo, and they're doing amazing things. And one of the things that they've done, which is what I think it goes back to the education part, is helping the farmers see that they can do added value products so that they can obviously increase their prices and get their margins. They got into the black once they were able to actually, they've been operating for a couple of years, once they started adding more value-add products. So I think that's something that goes back to the education part and the government support. And towards what Maria was saying, they're also looking at and considering bringing in labor from other countries to be able, because obviously the costs here, the electricity, all of those, huge factors, and especially them, which they're mostly focused on proteins, which are obviously more expensive. I mean, it's honestly, I don't know how you guys do it. It's admirable. I mean, every time I see a restaurant, I'm like, thank God, because I don't know how they survive. It's the margins that you guys work with and all of the struggles. I mean, my hat's off to you, and thank you for doing this, because I think the main part is educating the public and us understanding that, hey, like, I don't know how they freaking sell a plate for $15 or $20. Like Metropol, I know one of the owners is a good friend, and I'm like, dude, I don't know how you do it. But they do. They've got a system, right? But I think we need to continue educating the public and raise your prices. You guys add a lot of value, and people need to adjust as well. Like, I mean, people know that everything costs more. So, I mean, unfortunately, government's policies, idiotic stuff in the U.S. and all that, but we have to figure out how to make more money here so that people can make more money and pay for that, because we need those products, especially to come from here from the out. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys.
Thank you so much.
All right, last question.
Thank you. So thank you guys. Thank you. It was a great panel, but I see some commonalities between the panels. And based on the transformation, innovation, empowerment, I think that the key is partnerships and alliances. For example, somebody talk about bringing somebody from the outside to promote Puerto Rico. But here, the first panel was about the film industry. What about if that million that you were going to use to bring somebody else, why we don't give it to the film industry so they can do a documentary about it, food in Puerto Rico, and then we can raise that awareness. And then suddenly that is going to create more partnerships, more ideas. Everybody here, we have a great think tank here. And thank you guys for hosting this. So I think those are the conversations, and this is the start of that conversation. So thank you for what you guys are doing, because without food, everybody dies. Without water, without the energy systems, it's it's what we need. So thank you.